Shocking revelation. A truth people do not like. It knocks the ground from under your feet, destroys the familiar picture, forces you to ask not how to live, but why. This is the story of a real man. He died and returned, not for sensation, not for fame, but because he could not stay silent after what he saw. His name is Tsuruhiko Kiuchi, a Japanese man, calm, polite, unremarkable, not a guru, not a psychic, not a seller of miracles, an amateur astronomer, a night hunter of the sky, a man who trusted only what could be verified. In the early 1990s, he rediscovered the Swift-Tuttle comet, the very same one that gives Earth the Perseids. He lived by facts. He respected the silence of space. He believed in the order of the universe, until the day that order collapsed. He was a little over 40, an ordinary day, petty plans, a telescope in the corner, notes on the table. Death did not call in advance. An asthma attack struck like a knife. The lungs tightened. No air. The world darkened. He tried to inhale. Again and again. Useless. It became quiet. Unrealistically quiet. The heart stopped. From a medical point of view, clinical death. A line in a medical record, a period. But exactly after that period began the sentence for which you are here. He did not disappear. He did not fall into nothingness. He simply left his body. "I saw myself from above," he would say later. Lying on the floor, hands still, face pale, but there was no fear. Clarity, calm, and the sudden realization, I am not the body. Consciousness became sharp, almost painfully clear. We are used to thinking that thoughts live in the brain, that personality is brain chemistry. There, beyond the boundary that collapses, the brain is a receiver, consciousness is a signal. The signal does not die. He was pulled there, with no direction, no arrows. The space became different, dense, alive. There were no walls, no time, no distance, but there was reality, stronger than any pain. A passage opened. People call it a tunnel. Kiuchi would say otherwise. It is a stream of consciousness, not physics, a direction without walls. He stepped and fell into memory that did not resemble memory. His life opened before him, all of it, at once, not like a movie, not a set of images. He lived it again, in a single breath. Childhood, youth, careless words, looks that hurt, silences that killed, and small good deeds he had forgotten. Nothing is lost there. The main thing, no excuses work there. It just happened. I did not mean to. Everyone does this. No, there is only you, and the truth about you. He felt another person's pain as his own. A woman he once answered harshly, an old man he passed by, a boy he once supported, just for a minute, and changed his life's trajectory. There it is not theory, it is feeling. Cold in the chest, warmth, shame, joy, all at the same time. There was no court, no flames, no thrones. There was a law, simple and precise. Everything returns. A thought to a thought, a word way to a word, an action way to a consequence. No mysticism, mechanics of the spirit. And then presence, no breathing, no figures, no wings. Consciousnesses, calm, warm, elder. They did not command. They asked, "What have you learned?" The question cut through the silence. Kiuchi wanted to answer with his biography, with the comet, with telescopes. But that was not it, he understood. He did a lot, but understood little. He lived correctly, by the rules, but rarely by the truth. He lowered his gaze. There, where there are no eyes. The answer was simple, little. A second question surfaced like a sign on water. Do you want to return? Return where? To pain? To chaos? To the vanity that devours meaning? There, on the other side, there was no fear, no time, no loneliness. There was the feeling of home, real home. He answered honestly, I do not know. He was allowed to see more, a stream of souls, birth, life, transition, return. No one disappears, no one ends. The soul walks on, further and further, exactly as long as it takes to understand the simple. Love is the only language of the universe. And then the third question sounded, not loud but impossible to escape. Did you do what you came for? A pause. The answer, instant. No. They showed him what was unfinished. Not a formula, not a discovery, a connection with a soul he once left behind, long ago. So long ago that bodies changed and the knot remained. His mission was not to become great. His mission was to complete. He wanted to ask, how? But the words drowned. The stream trembled. The light began to fade. He was being pulled back, sharply, roughly. Returning is pain, compression into a point, darkness, cold, weight of the body, a strike, a breath, a ringing in the ears. He opened his eyes and understood. Everything was only beginning. Returning to the body is the hardest moment. Everyone who has experienced clinical death says the same thing. It is easier there than here. There is peace. Here, a burden. There is clarity. Here, noise. There is truth. Here, a role you have to play. Kiuchi lay with his eyes open but felt like a stranger. It was as if he had returned not to the world, but to a cage. The body pressed on him. Consciousness narrowed. Thoughts became heavy like lead. He was once again covered by the human condition. Limitation. He tried to speak, but there were no words. How do you explain what does not fit into language? How do you convey what is experienced but cannot be described? How do you confess something people do not believe in? So he stayed silent. A day, a week, a month, 2 years of silence. Not because of fear, because it was impossible to dress truth in words. He walked among people as if through dreams. He returned, but could not live as before, because now he saw what others do not see. He saw not faces, souls, not words, intentions, not actions, motives. He saw how people lie even when they are silent, how they smile but die inside, how they live in fear and but pretend to be strong, how they lose meaning and do not even notice it. He understood a cruel truth. Most people do not live. They simply have not died yet. And then the dreams began. First one, then another, then every night, the same woman, her eyes, her silence, her gaze, direct yet sad, as if she was waiting for him, as if she was calling him. Who was she? Why did he see her every night? Why did he feel like he knew her, although he had never met her? He tried to brush it off, pretended they were just dreams, but every time he woke up, he knew one thing. It was not a dream, it was a memory. But a memory of what? One night he dreamed not only of her image, but of words. For the first time she spoke, "You made a promise, and you must finish it." He woke up with trembling hands. He did not remember any promises, but his soul remembered. What had he promised? And to whom? To her. And then the moment came that changed everything. The second transition. 2 years after his first cardiac arrest, Kiuchi again found himself on the edge of life and death. This time he was not afraid, on the contrary. He knew he was returning to where there was no lies. The transition was quiet, peaceful, no struggle, no panic, no pain, only sliding, as if someone had opened an old door he had already walked through. And there they were, waiting for him, the guides, the same ones, without forms, without names, but with wisdom that can be felt inside the bones. They did not greet him, did not explain. They showed. They showed him the law of cause and effect deeper than before. Now through the destinies of other people, he saw souls who returned again and again, from different times, from different lives. He saw a murderer who in the next life saved people, a wealthy man who became a beggar, a strong man who became weak, and a weak man who became wise. Karma is not punishment, they told him without words. It is learning. He saw injustice, and understood it, because what we call injustice here on earth is only part of a greater story. Here is the consequence. There is the cause. And then they showed him what was the hardest to bear, the future of humanity. Not one future, but several. In one, Earth became colder not because of climate, but because of people. Most stopped feeling. Inner darkness spread like a disease. People still lived, but had no soul. They replaced truth with convenience, love with benefit, life with success. Their eyes were empty. In another, the world was difficult, but there was a lamp in it, awakened consciousness. People began to remember who they are. They no longer lived in the mode of survive. They finally began to live, honestly, bravely, deeply. The future is not written, the guide said. It depends on the choice of each person. And then, she again, the woman from his dreams. Now he saw everything clearly. She was his task, not love, not romance, a debt of the soul. She had to be found, helped, freed. The thread between them needed to be tied and closed. You will return, and you will find her, sounded for the last time. The stream closed. Darkness fell again. The return was more painful than the first. Now he knew he did not return by accident. Now he remembered, and now he had no choice. After the second return, he was no longer the same. The first time he was silent, because he did not know how to speak. Now he was silent, because he knew most people are not ready to hear. But he was no longer alone. Now he carried not just a memory of the other side, he carried a mission, and until he completed it, he would not find peace. The visions intensified. At first they appeared only in dreams. Now they started coming in waking life. In the subway, on the bus, in the street, at night over a notebook where he made notes. A woman's face, her eyes. They did not ask. They waited. He tried to live as before, but his old life became foreign, strange, small. He no longer cared for small conversations. He could not stand human lies. He saw through people and began to understand. Each one of us is wounded. Only some admit it, while others run. But you can run from anything, except your mission. One day he simply stood up and left. He did not know where. But something led him, invisible, persistent. It was not a call of thought, it was a call of the soul. His path led him where he least expected to end up. To a hospital. He did not know why he went inside. He did not plan to visit anyone. He was just walking down the corridor like a person who somehow knows this is exactly where he must go. And then he stopped, near the door of one room, not because he saw a sign or heard a voice. He just felt it. He opened the door, and the world stopped. She was sitting on the bed. The same woman from his dreams, the same eyes, the same silence in her gaze. She did not even look surprised when she saw him, as if she knew he would come. "You," she only said. "I have seen you before." Her voice was weak. The illness had already taken almost everything from her body, but not from her soul. He sat down beside her, and for the first time since his return, he felt what he had not felt for a long time. Peace. Deep. Quiet. Almost like home. They talked for a long time, but not about illness, not about pity, not about how unfair life is. "I am not afraid of death," she said unexpectedly. "Why?" he asked. "I have seen it. It does not come as an ending. It comes as truth." Her words struck precisely. She was not imagining it. She knew. Just like he did. "You did not come by accident," she whispered. "I have been waiting for you." And he understood. Yes, it was her. The soul with whom he had an old unfinished bond. The soul because of whom he had been returned. He came to her every day, not knowing why, but knowing it had to be so. He spoke little, but when he did, it was only about what truly matters, about the soul, about the path, about fear and its cause, about pain and its meaning, about what he touched there, on the other side of life. She listened. The way very few listen in this world. Truly. "There is no death," he said once. "There is only transition." "I know," she replied, but another question troubled her more. "Tell me," she asked softly, "why do people suffer?" He thought for a moment and answered, "Because they live without knowing who they are. They search for meaning in what is temporary and lose what matters most, the soul." She grew weaker, but her eyes became calmer, as if, despite the death of her body, her soul was returning to life. And one day he realized she was no longer afraid. And then everything fell into place. Her mission was to complete her journey, and his, to guide her to the light. But it was not yet time to say farewell. The hardest part was still ahead. Death does not come at once. It approaches quietly, slowly. First, it takes strength, then hope, then words, and only at the very end does it touch the heart. But this time, everything was different. When death came to her, she was not afraid. "I am ready," she said. There was no despair in her voice, no protest. There was silence. The same silence he had seen there, in the flow of consciousness. The silence that comes only after the soul remembers the truth. He sat beside her, holding her hand. He said nothing. Words were unnecessary. Between them, there were no foreign thoughts, no unsaid things. Only clarity. "Before death," she said quietly, "I was afraid of only one thing." "Of what?" "That all of this was meaningless, that life would end and disappear like a dream. But now I know. Nothing disappears. Nothing dies. Everything has meaning." She looked at him, and he understood. She remembered. She remembered more than the body allows, because the soul sees deeper. "I thank you," she said. "You did not let me go into the darkness. You reminded me who I am." He could not speak. His throat tightened. For the first time in many years he felt tears, but it was not weakness. It was truth. When the final night came, he stayed with her. The doctors no longer tried to do anything. They had seen people at the edge of life hundreds of times, but she was different. Too calm. Too bright. She whispered, "Do you know why you were sent back?" He was silent. He guessed, but he wanted to hear it from her. "Not so that you would search for answers," she said. "You already saw them there. You were sent back so that you could give answers to others." Her breathing grew quiet. "And also, you were sent back because of me. And now nothing holds you here anymore. You have fulfilled your promise." "What promise?" he asked, her eyes filled with warmth. "Once, very long ago, you promised that you would help me find my way home." She closed her eyes and added, "You did. Thank you." And in that moment something happened that changed him forever. He saw her soul leave her body, not in imagination, not in thought, but with the eyes of consciousness. It was light, calm, warm, beautiful, without a trace of fear, without pain. She was not running from death, she was returning home. She paused for a moment, as if she waited, and he felt she knew him, saw him, loved him. But that love was not human. It demanded nothing, it held nothing, it bound nothing. It was freedom. After that she rose higher and disappeared into the silence of the universe. But she did not disappear forever, because now he knew no bond between souls ever dies. He sat by her body for a long time. He did not move, he did not cry, he did not call anyone. He simply stayed near, and for the first time in many years, he did not feel alone, because in that very moment, he understood the meaning of everything he had seen there, beyond the boundary. To complete means to let go. To let go means to love. To love means not to fear. This was not a story about death. This was a story about liberation, but this was only the first step of his true mission. Because what he saw there now needed to be given to people, and not everyone was ready to hear. After she was gone, the world did not become easier, but it became clearer. Because he finally understood, the most important encounters are not about romance, not about destiny, not about love stories. They are about completion, about how souls heal one another. He could have stayed silent again, pretended nothing happened, continued living like most people do, work, routine, small joys, small fears. But he knew, now, he had no right to remain silent, because the truth he saw did not belong to him. It belongs to everyone. So he began to speak, not as a preacher, not as a prophet, not as a guru. He spoke as a witness. He was invited to interviews, then to conferences, then to television, then to hospitals, where he spoke to those who stood between life and death. And there they listened to him most attentively, because there people no longer lie to themselves. And every time he said the same words, "I am not asking you to believe me. I am asking you to remember. Remember what you already know." Deep inside, the soul never forgets the truth. He shared with people what he learned on the other side. Truth 1. There is no death. There is only transition. We do not disappear. We do not dissolve into nothingness. We only change form. Everything we are, our experience, our path, our essence, continues to exist. Truth 2. We are not random. Each of us comes into this world with a purpose. Fate is not punishment and not coincidence. It is a path we chose before birth. Truth 3. Everything is connected. You cannot harm another without harming yourself, and you cannot do good without receiving light in return. The world is not chaos. The world is structure. Truth 4. Fear is the greatest illusion of humanity. Fear of death is the root of all other fears. But when it disappears, life begins. Real life. Truth 5. Love is the only force stronger than death. Love is not a feeling. It is energy that connects souls across time, lifetimes, and space. It does not bind, it sets free. It does not ask, it gives. People listened, some with hope, some with tears, and some with anger, because truth always divides. Some awaken, others run back into their comfortable sleep. But he did what he had returned for as he planted memory. "So now you believe in religion?" someone once asked him. He smiled. "No, I do not believe in religion. I believe in the soul." His story is not about death. It is about life after fear. It is not about fantasy, and it is about meaning, not about miracles, about the laws of reality that we cannot yet measure with instruments. And if you have listened to this moment, it means something inside you responded. Perhaps you felt that this is not just the story of one Japanese man. This is a mirror, and each of us sees ourselves in it. Because one day, your transition will also come. You will take your last breath. You will close your eyes, and then you will understand fear was useless. Because death is not the end. It is a return home. And then you will be asked only one question. Who did you become in your life? Not what you worked as. Not how much you earned. Not how much power you held. Only one thing. Did you become brighter? And if this story touched you, support this video with a like, not for algorithms, but as a sign that light still lives among people. Write in the comments, do you believe in life after death? And if you want more, I will continue. Because this is not the end. This is only the first step. Because the main thing is not to be afraid to live, and not to be afraid to move beyond.